back to another episode of the ADH Dads. I'm your host, CJ.
Hey, I'm JJ.
And if you guys have been paying attention to the social medias lately, you know that we've been doing a lot of Fit Journey stuff. We just partnered with Coach Ray King. And see, like we said, JJ, as soon as we start pressing record, all the noise starts. So I don't know what they're doing next door, but they're rattling some drills out there. So
What's beautiful, buddy, is like I'd say 90% of podcasts probably are recorded from people's houses doing, just everyday life, and things happen.
So, yeah. Well, we've got a lot of noise going on here, brother, because we're in complete renovations right now. Our whole first floor is pulled up. There's sticky glue everywhere from the shoddy flooring job that the tenants did here before us. They just glued it right to the tile on top. They didn't put any sort of weather stripping or mat there or sealant or weatherproof. It's just glued on top of old tile. And we just had a Hurricane Hillary come through here, and we knew something was wrong when we started getting water from the floorboards. We're like looking around for the ceiling. Where's that drip coming from? And it was coming from the floor, bud. So, $10,000 worth of water damage and about 4 to 5 weeks of renovation as we get all this situated. So, brother, it is just... The fun continues for the Williams-Kowalski family, I'll tell you.
It's funny, buddy. I've heard this story said so many times, and I think this is kind of related to your situation, is that, sometimes we get in our heads the idea of like, well, when we get a house that'll finally make things feel like home and life will make sense. And then you find out, oh my God, there's so much more involved in this than I signed up for. Yeah. When we moved into our home back in Missouri, we were like, let's not get anything that's too old. Let's get something that's fairly new. That way we won't have many problems. And I'm giggling because I know what I'm about to tell you. I'm in the future with this already because of what I experienced. But we get our house and we move in, and I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks after we moved in, and I woke up in the night. Did I just hear gunshots? Uh-oh. And the neighborhood to the north of us was a little bit of a questionable neighborhood, to say the least. And then like not even a couple days later, I hear this crack in the middle of the night, and I'm like, what is going on? I go downstairs and I find the corner of the slab for the garage, looking up at the corner from my basement, a crack, just like a big chunk of that slab just broke off from the rest of it. And there was like drips of water. I'm like, it hasn't been raining. What is going on? So I just found out very, very quickly that homeownership isn't at all it's cracked up to be. No pun intended with the crack joke there.
Yeah.
But it just threw me through a loop. And then I find out all these issues. It's like all these things they're discovering after you buy the house that had all the pretty pictures listed just prior to you buying it. It's hard, man. It's hard.
Yeah, we knew we were going to have a little bit of problems here because we moved in and we said, there's some gaps in the floor here and the tiling that we're a little concerned about. Said, don't worry, I'll send my handyman over. The guy came over with this, flooring. He just cut little pieces off with an X-Acto knife and shoved it into the gaps of the flooring, and then we kind of looked at each other like, okay, that's quite a patch job to do. And then 2 weeks later, the floors had shifted and we had gaps in all new places of the floors. So we knew we were going to have some problem with this flooring, and sure enough, we've got some dehumidifying fans in here. It sounds like you're in, a Missy Elliott music video. It's just an industrial warehouse of noise and no flooring. We can only be on the upstairs, and it's hot, man. My biggest fear when moving to Santa Clarita out here was going to be the heat. I moved out of Arizona to get away from it, and our air conditioning broke down in the first 2 weeks of us being here, and we had to suffer through that. And now we've got all these fans going and need to keep the house open with no AC going while we dry everything out. So I'm hot, man. I'm sweating a lot. But that's perfect for what we're going to talk about in this episode, man. We've
Well,
been
you had Mother Nature kind of say, "Here, hold my beer," and Hurricane Hillary comes through, and it's like, all right, I'm going to continue to just throw curveballs at you for what you're trying to accomplish in your own personal journey as well as, family journey. So yeah, tell me a little bit about what we're going to talk about here.
sweat, man, sweating and
Yeah.
resiliency, because I feel like, the universe always tests me, man, when I'm like, I'm gonna get into shape, I'm gonna lose weight, and I'm gonna eat right. And then like the universe is like, well, all right, well, I'm gonna take away all your power and you won't have a refrigerator, so good luck cooking meals. Or I'm gonna give you COVID for 2 weeks and good luck recovering from that and getting back into a rhythm. So, but I think that we got to talk about this, man, because I think
Mm.
that like every man out there that wants to start a fitness journey runs into this roadblock, right? Like, how bad do you want it? And then you start doing it, and then, life is like, well, here's this, here's that. How bad do you want to recover from this and keep a healthy habit? So,
Yeah.
we just partnered with Coach Ray King, who was a guest of ours back on, must have been episode 8 or 9, and he had a good story to tell about his coaching methods, and my message, the message. But, we want to have Coach Ray come back on here and talk about fitness, what that
Mm.
looks like, the programs that we're on, So we started this journey about 2 weeks ago now, JJ. Is that about right? You've been doing it for
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
weeks? Yeah.
According to the app that we're connected to, which I'm really grateful for, it told me that I did like I think 15 workouts so far. So we're pushing into week 3 here, and yeah, I've been really grateful to have something to kind of keep up with me. So yeah, it's been about well, yeah, entering 3rd week now. So.
Yeah. So why are you doing this? What's your why for going on
Mm.
this health journey?
Man, I mean, this could take multiple episodes, kind of just as the journey of me personally, and where I've gotten to today with who I am, what I believe in, and what I want to achieve as my years continue on. When I was young, I don't remember what age exactly it was. I want to say it was around 7th and 8th grade. I started to put on weight, and a lot of reasons were for that. I think a big problem that I struggled with was acceptance, and just having a day at school where I wasn't picked on for whatever reason. I was a goofy, silly kid. I had a little bit of tendencies that kids kind of picked on and thought that were different about them, and so I had a lot of different, I guess, things about me that kids just tried to point out that they thought were stupid or ridiculous or what have you, and it was hard. An easy thing to do for a lot of us people is when we are feeling lonely and sad is to find areas of comfort. Snacking is a very easy area to turn to for comfort, and it does give you a little bit of a chemical rush to feel better in the moment. It doesn't solve your problems, but it definitely makes you at least kind of escape a little bit. So I had a form of escapism when I was quite young, which of course then I put on more pounds, and that was something that was identified as something about me that kids could make fun of, and so I started to feel very self conscious about my appearance, but I didn't know how to handle that. I wasn't somebody who had a guide or a mentor or a coach to help me through that. I had a therapist, and we talked about when kids are being bullies towards you, what can you do? And one of the things I actually had mentioned, and my parents were generous enough to buy me a weight bench, is I mentioned well, maybe lifting weights. So when somebody comes at me, and wants to hurt me, I can be stronger for it. But that was a very lofty goal without really having any steps along the way to get me there. So I didn't have a plan mapped out. So again, kind of returning back to eating and stuff was a big thing for me. My I guess my self-esteem continued to take a dive as I was going through high school. And it was really funny, buddy. I don't know how to explain this in any other way than just the way I'm going to explain it now. But I remember having a number of people tell me that certain girls had crushes on me, and I was like, how? How's that possible? Apparently, I was a really nice kid. So that was something that they were attracted to. But I'd have these girls who I thought were very attractive and way out of my league attracted to me. And I told myself over and over again, like, well, I'm not a good looking kid. I don't understand this. So I developed my own story about myself through a lot of external sources, and I gave them so much like weight to how I defined myself rather than some of the other great qualities that I carried with me, which was my personality and my relatability with people. So unfortunately, I still carried with that negative talk, and I'd look in the mirror every day and I'd start pointing out the things myself because I got to see the full me in front of a mirror, and I really had a lot of negative self-talk. So I wanted to do something, but I didn't also have the drive to do it because some of those other comforts were just too easy to reach for. So that was kind of my journey for a long time. And then I'll fast forward a ways, but in college, I got an opportunity to work for Disney in Florida. And you were talking about heat earlier. Well, working outside in Florida, heat and humidity, yeah, I lost 45 pounds in about 2 months. It just went off me. And one day my buddy Steve says, yeah, you know what? We need to get you a belt, man, because you're just holding up your pants with your hands everywhere we're going. And I was like, I am. What's that all about? I didn't even realize that I lost all this weight. But sure enough, I dropped down to a healthy weight, and some people would say skinny. And then I got that term skinny thrown at me, and I didn't know how to handle that. I'm like, okay, well, now I lost all this weight and people are pointing out that I have a flaw. That's how I looked at it. I'm like, I'm skinny. It's a flaw. I'm not in the ideal shape. And that, so I think external forces can really just wreak havoc on our self-esteem. And that's a struggle that I had for so many years. It wasn't until I would say that I met good guys like you that I was challenged in the best possible ways. Is what is my why in life? Is my why in life to have the perfect physique and, get a model girlfriend or whatever it is that some guys might want to achieve with that body type? Some people do want to do that. We've seen the nature videos with the prettiest nest that a male bird comes up with, to try and attract a female. But to me, I go back to that kid who was, had a lot of attraction to him for the personality that he output to the world. And that was what I started to turn to more. It's like, okay, I want to be a good person first and foremost. And how does that relate to my fitness journey? Well, my fitness journey would probably in some ways complement that. If I'm going to be my best self, my sharpest self, well, sleep, physical activity, all that stuff plays a part in that. So I want to explore that. Yes, I do want to get stronger. I want to get stronger because muscle plays a part in longevity, and I do value that very much. So that's kind of where I'm at today, and we can continue to dive into that further because I think I've taken up a lot of time in this moment. But I just want to point that out, like the why has become of much greater value today because I want to be here for myself, for my family, especially for my son in this moment more than anything. I get to carry him on my shoulders. He's over 50 pounds. I get to carry him on my shoulders when we go places, and that means the world to me. I threw my back out many times when I wasn't in the best shape, and that was awful. And I haven't thrown my back out in years, and I credit that to being more focused on having a physically fit body as I stumble along the way. But now I am to the point where I did 75 hard, which we can talk about that in a little bit maybe, but I did 75 hard. I got in the best shape of my life, found out during that process that I have arthritis. Okay, thanks God, kicking me in the balls for, just trying to get more healthy. I've got arthritis now. But so I did that. And now with Coach Ray, I think I'm given the best opportunity to really explore all those facets of what it is that I want to be in a healthy person. So yes, I do think that sometimes people look at people who are trying to get fit and they get that idea in their heads like, oh, they want to be a jock for this reason and that reason, blah, blah, blah. And, they think like it has to be in this camp or this camp. You can't have both. And that I mean like is the intelligence, the emotional intelligence thing or the meathead. Well, no, I want to be all the good things in life without bragging about it. I just want to be healthy and be there for my family. And I believe this is part of that journey.
Brother, you're speaking my language in more than just one way. First of all, I definitely still struggle with the handful snacking, and or the comfort eating. That's where I'm struggling in my fitness journey. But we'll talk about that. But and also just what you said in the why. I think I've had a pretty kind of tainted or unhealthy relationship with fitness, or the motivation of fitness, or the why behind it. you know um yeah, I think it was kind of more body image based in my younger years. And even when it was for like actual literal use or physical use, for playing football or baseball or wrestling or whatever I was involved in at the time, I still feel like I had a very kind of unhealthy relationship with my coaches. In football, I think I've mentioned on this show before that my nickname was "Can't make a good play until you piss me off, Kowalski." So, and I was tame, I was timid, and I was out there to just kind of have fun and joke around and didn't take it too seriously. But the coaches knew that if they got me riled up and motivated in a certain way, that I could be a destructive force and a powerful force on the field or on the mat. And so I had a like adversity to like coaching and like the motivation behind fitness for a while. It was like a subconscious kind of brainwashing or programming that like, oh, like that means I'm going to get yelled at. Cardio means I should be yelled at. They're going to make me feel bad to get me going. So it took me kind of a while to kind of reprogram that, even when I would go out on my own fitness journeys in my 20s and be like, yeah, let's get fit. Again, it was like body image. Let's get the girls. Let's have the six pack. Let's look like the model of The Rock. And it was, again, in my head, the talk was, oh, you're a pansy, you can't do it, and let's go, and you know suck it up, buttercup, and those just kind of mantras that I had been programmed in high school athletics. And even in wrestling, it's fast, it's shed weight, it's sweat, wear a garbage bag under your sweats and run around in a 110-degree sweat room. Like, I just wasn't taught like what healthy means. It was just like drop weight, gain weight, stay in the gym for 4 hours a day or run for 4 hours a day, sweat it off, bulk it on, eat protein, stop eating anything, and it was extremes, and it took a long time of me trying to navigate that on my own, hiring fitness coaches here or there, wasting money, doing digital workouts or app program based stuff. And my weakness was always trying to go too hard, again, because I had that high school athletic programming in me that was like, you're not doing enough, keep at it, more, you do it until you fail, you're not done until you're bleeding or broken, and I would push myself in the gym in that same kind of mentality, and I would always end up hurt 3 weeks, 4 weeks into a workout program, trying to do too much at once and not understanding macros and protein and amino acids and how to rebuild muscles and give them rest time. It was just, again, go, fast, no nutrients. So it took me a while, and that's why I'm glad that we are partnering with Coach Ray to kind of hold my hand through this process, talk about all of these hiccups, rather than me just getting discouraged or hurting myself and giving up on this. So, it's been nice to reevaluate with him what the why is now. And, the why is more aligned with you, JJ, and, longevity and health, and in exemplification and in longevity for myself to keep up with these kids. Every time we watch these videos of these babies growing up into going off into the first year of school, it brings a tear to my eye, JJ. My goodness, it's happening so fast. And they're packing on pounds every year. And every time we go to Disneyland, it gets harder to put them on my shoulders and carry them around for 10 hours, and I want that to last as long as I can, man. So the why is a little bit more powerful, when I hit the weights now, and it's not about getting the six pack and and getting the girl. Although my wife maybe does appreciate the definition I'm putting in my legs, But she's laughing over here. She hears me on the other side of our little partition, our little rainbow brick partition.
Yeah, and I don't think there's really supposed to be any shame in that part of it too, right? If you do look better, and the person that you want to show that off to appreciates that. I mean, that's a pretty dang good bonus. That's part of the why, I suppose. That connection piece.
But man, seventh, eighth grade, I was a chubby kid. I had a lot of extra weight, and spent the
Same.
summer in my grandparents' pantry, picking out all the sweets. My grandma had a candy bowl in every room in her house, man. And there was no restrictions when you went to grandparents' house. When I was at dad or mom's, I could only have one piece a day after I had eaten vegetables or whatever. Dang you out there with that impact drill.
I can hardly hear him, buddy. But yeah, here I'll tell you something that I think probably every one of us has experienced. My parents, they didn't have a ton of snacks on hand, but there was always something. So if it was just like the Nestle morsel, chocolate chip morsels in the fridge drawer, for whatever reason it was in the cheese drawer, if I wanted a snack and I wanted something sweet, those things would be nibbled on if I didn't have anything else.
Oh, dude, that's how Grandma showed love in my house, was a trip to Costco, letting you buy anything you wanted,
Yeah, Grandpa and Grandma, they'll show love, and if that's candy, that to a kid, well, they're there for that. I love you, Grandma and Grandpa, but you're killing me here. Yeah, but I appreciate that why, the longevity and stuff, and I just, I want to add, like, I don't know, what cards I've been dealt. I'm actually going, by the way, this is kind of a cool aside here, is I'm going back to the doctor for a follow-up in a couple weeks, and I get to do a treadmill test. So I get to do something I've never done before in terms of my wellness exams, and I'm really curious about what that's going to show. And one of the things, this is a tough one for me, is years ago I started feeling essentially some sort of pain in my chest in the left side. So you never want it in the left side of your chest. That's going to make you go on WebMD and lose your marbles over whatever it is they're gonna throw at you based on your search terms, right? Be like, oh, heart pain. Oh no, oh my god, do I have to call the doctor or go to the ER right now? Yeah, I had those moments where I'm just like, I gotta try and figure this out. And of course, you're gonna go down a rabbit hole and you're gonna find all sorts of bad things without actually any answers if you do that. But so I've been to the doctor a few times for this particular pain that'll come and go in my chest, and they always tell me, "Hey, you're doing great. Everything looks good. Your EKG shows you're great. Your blood pressure's great. Your heart rate is great. Everything's great." I'm like, "That's cool. I have this pain still. What are we going to find out? I'd like the answers." So I guess what I'm saying in that is, like, I don't know what the future holds for my health, and I don't want to play poker with that. I want to try it in any way that I can, within reason. I want to create a healthy lifestyle for myself. And I don't believe that means, never have a Dr. Pepper or, a chocolate bar. You can have that stuff too, but let's just be smart about it. I might not be a centenarian someday, which is like a person who's like 110 years old or older. But if I ever manage to get to a lifespan, greater than 80, I would really hope to be there and be able to, like, manage myself physically and have a sound mind. I had a grandfather who died after complications with Alzheimer's. My grandmother died after having an aneurysm, unexpectedly. We all thought she was going to live to be 100 or more. Her mom lived to be 99, my great grandmother. And my great grandmother, lived on her own into her late 90s. She even had a 2-story place, if you can imagine. That's remarkable. And then I've got an uncle who died of a heart attack many years ago. So we don't know exactly what our bodies are handed to us. Sometimes maybe we will find that out with the miracle of medical science someday. But right now we're not there yet. But we do have a lot of options ahead of, or in front of us, to kind of at least not ensure, but help us feel confident about where we are in our health journey. And then again, we're talking about Coach Ray. and bringing him into the picture, he breaks stuff down for us based on what our bodies might need and what our bodies are capable of through our exercise. And I got to just say it to everybody out there. I love that you can find a coach online and they can talk to you online. You can send them videos about what you're screwing up in the gym, because I'm going to tell you right now, with my arthritis, any form adjustments that I'm doing wrong could result in an injury, and I don't need that. So just having that, extra bonus of a coach to like walk you through it, even if they're not there with you in the room, man, you can even do this stuff in your living room with your body weight. Like, this stuff is like readily available to us, and this can help us get to that, whatever age you're supposed to live to, in at least a better shot to have a healthy, I guess, sprint there.
Yeah, man, he set me up with the program in my backyard. So I've been getting the kids involved, and, they've been enjoying the antics. And, Aubrey's a little cocky, man. She's got 2 pound weights, and I'm over there with 35 pound weights, and we're doing the same exercise. And she goes, "You only did 8. I did 110." I'm like, well, 2 pound weights over there.
Then you start critiquing her form. You're like, yeah, but your form is horrible.
Yeah. So, it's been pretty cool, though, that we can, that he set me up like that. And like you said, we can do this online. I mean, there's really no excuse for us to really get into shape now. And that's something I want to talk about too, man. Cause, I think for me, going into week 3, I feel like it's getting a little bit easier. Now that we're starting to build a little bit of momentum here and pick up some speed, in where the first 2 weeks, my talk was a lot of like, oh, I can't do this. Oh, this is so hard. I don't want to do it. Now that self-talk and that story is starting to change a little bit into, I can't wait to do that, man. Oh, that's going to feel good. I'm going to feel great after that. It's not that hard. You've done it before. You can do it again. And the more that I wake up and have that story with myself, the more I look forward to it, the easier it's becoming, the more that I'm enjoying the process. And, and that's something that's really, I think, hung me up too in the past, JJ, is I've always been someone, and it's taken me a long time in life to realize this, that I've always been someone that wanted the trophy at the end, right? Like, I wanted the certificate, the piece of paper, the results, the thing to happen at the end that goes, wow, like, you did great. But I never wanted to go through the process and enjoy the journey. I just wanted the end result, and it took me a long time in life to realize that the value of it wasn't the end of the journey. It was as we were walking through it. The Alchemist by Paulo Consuelo was, one of my books that opened my mind to that concept, of it's not the treasure that we're looking for, it's what happens on the journey and how we're changed by it. And I wish that I had figured out that piece sooner. I think that I could have made a lot more progress and been a lot more towards the end goal, and there is no end goal. The end goal keeps getting further away. We never actually make it. And I think, again, if I had realized that earlier on, I would have maybe been able to enjoy this process and probably been a little further down. But I didn't, and I needed to have patience with myself, and that was part of my journey. And I do enjoy where I'm at now and realizing that, because it gives me a little bit of grace and forgiveness along this process when I do maybe slip up or grab the handful of Frosted Flakes as I'm walking through the kitchen, and where before I'd be like, what's the point? It's all over. I can't do it. See? Now I'm just like, well, we'll add 5 more push-ups to the roster and burn those Frosted Flakes off.
I really like what you said in there, that I think it's becoming more clear as we continue to talk here about our whys. Like, one thing you can ask yourself is like, well, what is my current health status? You mentioned like that goal, like maybe the trophy at the end of things, right? And that feels good. And the end isn't really the end, because once again, you could ask yourself, what's your current health status after you've gotten to this particular point that you wanted to achieve? In the app, it tells me, throughout each week. Like I've gotten my max volume, I've gotten the heaviest weight I've ever done on this. So I continue to like add more weights to this. So that's a measurable thing, which is really great. But then on our whys, in addition to that, is like, what are our lifestyle habits? What are our eating habits, and what is our stress like in our day to day? And then, of course, when you talk about stress, then you got to talk about maybe your support system. Who are you, and who are you with? Who do you rely on for the support in your life? They're not going to just be somebody who's going to simply like Aubrey, just like say, well, you did all those and I did all these, which is a brilliant thing to have along the way. But then you continue that life journey with those family members, with those loved ones, even beyond the gym. That why continues with you. So I just love how, like, we're talking about the why, and you brought it up so well. There is like it's you identified a goal, and then you realize along the way, like, wow, this goal is forever evolving.
Yeah, it was a big wake up call for me, man. Again, a couple episodes ago, I talked about my dad being here for our little wedding celebration, and just kind of seeing my dad and how old he is, and the age he's getting at, and the health problems that he's having, really was like a big wake up call for me to, like, we got to keep at this. This isn't a journey that ends. Like, and I've had multiple doctors tell me, like, stagnation is your enemy. I start having a lot of pain and season up with my arthritis and tendonitis, um, like you were talking about. And they tell me, you got to keep moving, man. The second you start staying still is when you're going to have that pain. So again, this isn't a journey that ends. And I'm seeing my dad and where he's at, and how his bones and muscles are just tightening and seizing and swelling. And I want to keep this journey up as much as I can. I want to be able to throw my grandkids on my shoulders, not just my kids, and walk around Disney like we do 20 years from now. And that's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort. So I'm learning to enjoy the process, and learning to narrate a different story of what my why is along the way. Because yeah, man, my support system, is, and still is, Snap, Crackle, and Pop, and the rest of the Kellogg's gang, man. I love sugary cereal and chips, man. They're my downfall. I can't eat a sandwich without chips. I don't know how people do it. But I'm learning to kind of narrate the story differently, that I don't need those things, and I still slip up, and I'll like I said, grab a little handful of Lucky Charms or Frosted Flakes, or choose the chips over the carrots, or the bell peppers. But I'm learning to just kind of like roll with those failures or punches, and just recover and get up and keep trying and keep going, and have a little bit of grace for myself along the way.
Yeah, man. I mean, that shame piece can really, it can really take us down, and then I think a lot of times is we lean into the shame piece, and we make it the regular story. We don't feel good about ourselves, but man, I've heard it from so many people, and including myself, is just I did it again, I screwed up, and this is the way it is. I mean, and then we talk about going to the gym. It's so much effort, and I don't really see the payoff and stuff, and so we get in that stagnation space of not wanting to put the effort in, and also not wanting to change the lifestyle that we've put out there for unhealthy choices and stuff, and we buy into that lie. We tell ourselves that doing something different than this won't pay off. What do you make of that? What would you say to somebody based on your experience, or just what you've learned, when they say, I've not seen a difference. It's too hard. I mean, I've heard some coaches say, well, somebody says, I stopped eating so much, I only ate 1,200 calories a day, and I'm not losing weight, and I'm burning so many. And the coaches will some of the coaches will say, I think the unhealthy way of approaching it is like, well, that's just stupid, because if you burn more calories than you consume, you're gonna lose weight. So don't be a dumbass. Be honest to yourself. How do you talk to somebody who's like, I tell myself I'm a dumbass all the time. This isn't what I signed up for.
Well, yeah, brother. I feel like I'm experiencing this full on this round of my fitness journey. Like everything that wants to throw me off track has been trying to throw me off track this time. Like
You've had acts of God in like all senses
yeah,
of the
Mother
matter.
Nature has come in, and like, so as soon as like we started this and talked to Coach Ray about partnering up and doing this, I went into the grocery store and got all this good food and all this healthy stuff, and then the hurricane came in, and now don't have a stove to cook on, a refrigerator, a floor to stand on, and we've been eating out a lot. So it's been like a challenge to like figure out that pivot and shift a little bit. And, before we started this too, I came back from my honeymoon and got COVID, like we were talking about, and I had no appetite. So I shed like 12 pounds in that week because I just wasn't eating anything. So, and then we started this, and I'm eating better food, but I'm gaining weight. I'm gaining like 2 pounds every other day as I'm stepping on the scale, and I'm like getting deterred from that. And everything that I'm doing or trying to implement is, like we said, trying to knock me off this path. But as all of this is happening, JJ, I also feel the most equipped to handle that and the most motivated to do that, to keep going with this journey. And I don't feel shooken or shaken or whatever the word is off of my high horse here as we're going along this, because I feel like what we're talking about with the why, I feel like I've really got it nailed in this time. And I'm not looking at the scale for the end result, or I don't have a number that I'm trying to lose, or necessarily like end the goal. My end goal is to enjoy this process. So every day I just work towards that, and what that looks like. And sometimes I get to max out and I push my record from the time before. And sometimes I can only do half, right? And I can only do 9 versus 18, which I did 2 days ago. And that's cool. I don't need to, again, try to max out every day and burn
Yeah.
myself out and rip a muscle and injure myself. The goal isn't to do that or be better every day or to lose 20 pounds or to have the 6-pack or whatever. The goal is to learn to enjoy this process. So the more that I can have that story in my head, I feel like I'm closer every day and I'm getting the goal every day, and I'm not getting to a point, well, we're almost there. Just like, maybe one little cake is all right. And then I can, whatever we tell these derailing stories to ourselves, when we get closer to these goals or further away from them. And so, yeah, I guess that's what I would tell people who are struggling with that too, is like, stop looking for the end goal, and like, what are you
Mm-hmm.
enjoying about the process or day to day as you're going through this, rather than the 20 pounds or the 15 or whatever you're trying to shed or add or
Yeah, buddy, I relate to that because I have been on the leaner side for a long time, and I tend to rely too much on just like the scale number, which of course is most of what we have available to us. And anybody who stands on a scale that suggests that it can measure your body fat and all that other stuff, I hate to tell you, but like standing on a scale is not going to be able to measure all that stuff inside your body. You need a much more advanced system to really get that. Like I used an InBody. It was called an InBody scale, InBody analysis, when I was doing my 75 hard journey. I don't have that available to me now. So what do I see? I see, I think my last weight that I did this morning was like 155 something. And when I finished up 75 hard earlier this year, um, I was at 146, but I look more fit and sculpted now than I did then. So I have to assume that's muscle. That's a pretty good feeling. But you know, I if I step on the scale and I realize specifically on that, based on everything that I've told myself up to this last like couple years, then my self-esteem is going to get the better of me. I'm going to say, well, I'm failing because I'm gaining weight, but really that's part of it. That's part of the journey, is getting to that point of understanding your body more. And I like that it tells me the max weights. I've increased my weights. And then actually, like you said, I did the chest day last week and I ended up doing half of the push-ups to failure, and I was like, oh, I can't do it. looking at last week's numbers. What's going on? What am I doing different? But I mean, what I need to remind myself is like, hey, you're putting your body to the point where it's telling you, all right, you've gotten to the point that you can get to. You can't go any further. That means you're working. Good job. So I have just like this constant rewiring still taking place in my head where I say, no, look at it this way. It doesn't have to be this thing. You didn't lift this weight to the same extent you did last time. That doesn't mean that you are getting worse. That means you are actually continuing to work through the process. And having those measurements for me is great, because then coach comes to the table and he says, okay, you did this. I noticed this. This is all helpful information. This is all good information about what your body's trying to tell you. And then that's when the rewiring and the transformation for me fully kind of comes into focus.
Yeah, one of the things that really kind of resonated for me while, watching Coach Ray do his videos and stuff is, he's very conscious and intentional about pointing those stuff out in proper form, what he sees a lot of clients doing wrong and where their motivations may falter, and, how to improve on that. And, one of the things that he said was, not every workout needs to be your best workout. And, that was kind of a breath of fresh air from the story that I was just telling you, where, coaches would need to piss me off to get me motivated. It was like, wait, well, there's another way of thinking about this, a more enjoyable way, a way that's more built towards your speed and what you can accomplish, rather than like hurting yourself trying to, outdo yourself. So I kind of like really liked that appeal, and I still do get a lot of motivation from like, just do it. But I think that there's a fine balance that I've had to like take and integrate from my own personal experience and what I know works and what doesn't. And with that came a lot of failure, a lot of hurting myself, a lot of injuries, or a lot of giving up or testing those boundaries or limits, and then coming back and being like, well, that didn't work so good last time. Let's kind of reevaluate and see what we need to do. And I think that like that's important too for a lot of guys to consider, in this journey, because again, a lot of men, particularly human beings, go into this like balls to the wall. It's got to be extreme. It's got to be one end of the spectrum or the other. And then when they can't get that extreme side of the spectrum, they feel like a failure. They get down on themselves. They start self-doubting and they start looking for ways out of it, because the body wants to revolt, when you start changing the habits and the procedure and the routine every day. And, if you don't have a good why and you don't have a good support system to help you navigate that self-talk that you feel comfortable enough and vulnerable enough to really be honest and open with, then, you're going to set yourself up for failure.
Yeah, man. And, yeah, guys, right. Talking to the guys out there, yeah, I think we all want to be able to bench press our wives or girlfriends or whatever. We want to be that strong, sexy macho guy who can take care of all the things physically, and we also got to be smart. And I think one thing that's really important, because we're dads. That's what we are. It's one of our main focal points here in this podcast, is that dad usually means you are of a certain age or older. And when you're early 20s, God bless you, chances are you have the ability to push yourself, and, things are going to be okay. You're going to come out of that going, I'm a little winded, but I'm doing fine. We guys who are, in upper 30s, 40s, we might not have that same luxury anymore. That's why we really need to, seek out some understanding of our bodies before we push ourselves. I think it was Kevin Hart who, did you see this, Colton? Just like a day or two ago, he put on his Instagram, 44 and sitting my ass down. I got to be the dumbest man alive. What am I doing? I blew my shit. I'm done. He did he tried to do a 40-yard dash, and he tried to just like, race his butt off. And what did he do? He tore his lower abdomen, and now he's in a wheelchair for a little bit. He's like, hey, 40's real, man. 40 hits you. It doesn't play around. You got to take this seriously. So, he wanted to do that. He wanted to push himself very far and have a good moment. And his body said, well, I'm just going to let you know that 20-year-old Kevin Hart, he's probably laughing at you right now. So I do have those moments. Like this last week, I didn't tear anything, but I did leg day, and I upped the weights, and I tried to do the exact same reps, and it went fine. I was winded, man. It's funny how you can just like step up, step down for like 12 reps, and then you're winded, going, "Oh my god, where's the water? Am I going to make it through this?" But I was just winded. I wasn't tearing anything. It's just a reminder that, yeah, my body needs to let me know, and I need to listen to it. I don't need to be stupid, and I need to have some references. I need to have somebody give me some feedback on this, because you know what? At 40 something, my body's going to just give out at some point when I try to push it too far, if I let it. Or I can have coach come in and say, "All right, man, I see you pushed it up to that weight. Let's have a little conversation about that."
Yeah, we have to be conscious of evolving with this process because, that's where I know that I went wrong is I was trying to push myself at, 30 as I was doing at 17, doing the same workouts because it's like, well, this is all I know. This is what I was taught. So, let's go do a 5 4 40. And, it's like, dude, you can't do that. You're 36 years old now. And the workout routine is going to look a little bit different than, hang cleaning 300 pounds, and deadlifting 500. Like you can't do that. You haven't done that in 20 years, kid, so
Yeah.
we have to be like realistic about that. And, again, I think that goes back to like our why. It's like, why are we doing this? It's not to make, Fit magazine on, world's strongest competition on the strongman competition. It's to be able to carry my kids on their shoulders. So, you got to put that in perspective.
Yeah, I saw a beautiful video. It was probably a commercial or something, but there was this old man. Every day he had like an old lady walk by his window, and every day he'd have this kettlebell, and he'd lift it up and put it on a shelf, and she'd walk by. She's like, What are you doing?" Shaking her head and stuff. And then at the end of the video, you see him. He gets his granddaughter over. It's Christmas time, and she's got an ornament, or maybe it's a star on top of the tree, and he just lifts her up, and she puts it on the tree, and it's like, oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah, that's my why, brother. Is I want to be able to, if I have the luxury of having grandkids someday, we'll see. I'd love to be able to just be there physically. To not have them push me around, but instead for me to be involved with their play in some way. It was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar who said something recently. LeBron James had beat his record in terms of like all-time points and stuff. And so then somebody asked, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar about that. And I don't remember the quote exactly, but he said, it's a point record. I don't care. If somebody were to ask me about what matters most, I'd say, having the point record or being able to spend just another afternoon with my grandkids playing with Lego bricks on the floor. I choose the Lego bricks on the floor with my grandkids every single time.
Yeah, man. And this is why this journey is so important to me. I want to get other men and dads along this journey with us, alongside of us. That's why we've been posting on the social medias, daily. Really just trying to motivate guys to come along this journey and join with us, whether it's, at home, like I'm doing, just in the backyard, or, in your little fitness center like JJ's got going. Or if you want to contact Coach Ray and get a program, that's why we're helping promote him and partner with him, because he's got some really good stuff. And, I hope we're going to have him back on the podcast, in the next couple of episodes here. And he's really got to give you the expert opinion on this and, kind of lay out where he sees the trap falls are for a lot of new clients and, the stories that they tell themselves. So he's going to, come on here and promote himself. But, I just wanted to get a head start on this with you, JJ, and show our listeners what we're doing and why we value this and, why they should contact Coach Ray, or at least just kind of join us at their own pace while we do this, because I think it's really important for families.
And man, I'd love it too that, we do have somebody like Coach Ray in our corner, who is like, he understands the why first. He might have been somebody who, built his body up and is always going to have, larger arms than I do legs. and that's fine. Um, he's also the guy who understands the why and really cares about the why first. That's the type of coach that I really value. I know that a personal coach at a gym that you go to can certainly help you with your physical fitness, but man, also having somebody who understands the whole part, and promotes that is something that I really am grateful for. And one thing I got to say, in terms of competition, everybody who's seen the videos, you clearly know that Colton has a better sense of humor than I do. I'm trying to keep up with that sense of humor stuff, but he's way hella funnier. So just put up with me when you can.
I enjoy your videos, but I think you're being too hard on yourself. But yeah, man, if you guys want to check out those videos, we're on Instagram at the ADH Dad Podcast. Same thing with TikTok and YouTube. We're putting shorts up there and longer form stuff, so you guys can kind of see where we're at daily and where we're struggling at, and what those workout routines look like, and those diet choices. So, like I said, I'm still figuring out that piece, JJ. What have you been struggling with so far with this?
With because it's a lifestyle thing. There's a lot that goes into the struggle, and figuring out what that struggle is. I think there's an idea of what you should consume and how you consume it. Is a big thing for me. So I've actually struggled with getting the carbs in, which I didn't think would be my issue, but I've struggled with kind of making sure I hit all those macro levels. And then, and I've told Coach about this, and we're going to explore this further, so I'm excited to kind of follow up on this. But I have certain muscle groups that can continue to increase the max, weights on, and that sounds good and all. But my chest is one where it seems like at some point my body just stops. It's not, I wouldn't call it failure. It's just like, all right, well, that was the last one. Can't do anything more. I don't get that. I guess that satisfaction feeling of going to the failure point, which is weird to me. So I'm going to explore that with Coach Ray further. But I also want to take note of this that I really appreciate about my son, is that he has talked to me a few times in the last week about someday he's going to be stronger than I am. And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely the truth, buddy. And I like the fact that he's thinking about that in ways that I probably would have thought about it a little bit differently when I was younger, because I was more focused on, again, just wanting to be stronger so people would like me and whatnot. Now I'm giving my son the gift of wanting to be stronger because this is part of your why. And I do think that I'm passing that on to him really well. And that's what I'm grateful for. But yeah, my struggles, I think they're still to be determined. And I'm actually excited about that, because I don't think they're major struggles at this point, because I understand my why more.
Well, it was kind of funny. You were talking earlier about how you were razzed and kind of bullied for being too skinny. And all I could think about was when you came out here to visit, and Naomi and you were aside in your independent moment going on Guardians of the Galaxy, and Naomi turned to you and said, "Why are you divorced?" He said, it's kind of because of this reason or that reason. And then Naomi said, "Is it because you're too skinny?" So my child was one of the ones that bullied you, so I apologize.
Well, then it was funny too, because I said, "Well, I got big biceps," and she goes, "Whoa, you do? Do you have abs too?" Yeah. So she's like, "Well, then I don't know exactly why you got a divorce then." I love it that kids are just like, "I'm gonna say what's on my mind, no filters. Here we are. Let's get this out on the table." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is way more complicated." She's like, "No, it's not. No, not."
Well, thank you, brother, for starting this fitness journey with me. I love your videos. I think you're hilarious. So I know our listeners do too. But not to worry, guys. If you want to join our fitness journey, we'll throw all of our social media links in the show notes, along with Coach Ray's. If you want to check that out, see what that looks like, and maybe reach out to him and maybe start planning your own program. So thanks, guys, for listening. I hope you're maybe thinking about some real efforts to add fitness into your life, to reconsider what health and nutrition looks like. I know it's important to us, and it should be important to you too. So I hope you guys continue to tune into this journey and join us. That would be pretty awesome. I would love to hear what your trap falls are, and all of your little motivation tactics and workout routines and diet meal preps look like. So please share that with us if you'd like, and look forward to talking to you guys next time. Until then, I'm your host, CJ.
I'm JJ.
And this has been the ADH Dads. See you next time.